And welcome to another edition of Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 28-year veteran of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games as an editor, writer, and illustrator. And this is day 5 of the Booktober event. We're going to do comic reviews and book reviews, possibly book reviews, every day throughout October. And so let's go ahead and headed straight into that. I did promise some people that I was going to do Marvel. So we're going to have some Marvel books today. All right. Our first book is All New Hawkeye #1 from 2015, $3.99. The publisher was Marvel Comics. The writer is Jeff Lemire. Artist Ramon Perez and Ian Herring. Genre superhero, released in February of 2015. What it's about. Hawkeyes Clint Barton and Kate Bishop infiltrate a Hydra base and botch the mission and get separated. Bishop finds what they were looking for while separated, but whatever it was they were supposed to be looking for is never explained in the story and isn't revealed visually enough for the audience to care. Meanwhile, the comic has this memory split story going on that's intermixed throughout of Clint's childhood. The artwork for these two stories are not remotely complementary to one another and makes the story disjointed and not remotely entertaining to this reader. In fact, the backstory is so unnecessary to me that I didn't feel like I got a real story at all in the comic because so much information about the current now story is never revealed. Had the story just been the now or the backstory, either one being told on their own, either one could have possibly been engaging enough for me to care, but as a split story, I was just completely turned off. Other problems the book had were the dialogue. Repeated dialogue jokes between the two Hawkeyes and Barton calling an explosive arrow Splody arrow just really didn't sit too well with me. Lemire even tells the audience that the whole premise of the story is stupid in the dialogue. Come on, Lemire, you're better than this. It's trash. It's just a trash comic as far as I'm concerned. It gets a better score than another Bother book I'm going to review later in this podcast, simply because I was just able to finish reading it. But bleh. Rating 2 stars, don't recommend you getting it, but let's look at the art anyway. And let me show you this. This is the interior cover, inside, and the first page. Now, this is not bad artwork by any means. I don't mind it. It's decent layout. This is supposed to be the memories going on in Clint's head for some reason. Then you get another page of that. Okay, but then you have another ad page of classic Marvel from IDW to disrupt the pacing of the story. There's another page of story, another 2 page of ads. Here we go. See, I got them. Okay, yeah. Now, you got another ad right here. And then you go to the next, flip the next page over, and it's another ad. And now you've got this completely different art style. It just doesn't, the pacing is so disjointed from the advertising and the styles of the 2 artwork that it's just like, what am I reading here? Can you remind me again why the hell I agreed to come on this extra stupid, extra secret mission with you, Clint? Because you're my protege, because you love me, because it's fun. Not your protege, do not love you, not fun. What kind of dialogue is this? Liar, this is too fun. I will concede one point, though, Catherine. This mission is extra stupid. Okay, so why are we doing this? Why does this story even exist? Why is this comic here? I just don't get it. Just overall, just really bad dialogue. They find an escape route. Clinton slides out with a t-shirt on and then goes outside into the Antarctic, wherever they're at, where he's going to freeze basically outside. But he's more worried about his protege because she didn't get out. Okay, whatever. I'm here. Don't call me that. And like I said, now, well, I'm going to get in there. I'm just going to use a splody arrow. We are not calling it that. Okay, whatever. Why is something in a guy in his late 30s calling an explosive arrow a splody arrow? What is this? I don't know. I can't get into this at all. Whoops. This is what the book was, though. And just not at all. I can't recommend it. I'm sorry. The only reason I got this book is because it has a blank cover, as you can see, so I could do a sketch on it. And I'm going to do a sketch on it all right. And I'll tell you about what I'm going to draw in this book later in the show. John Norris, one of our regular viewers, says hello. Hello, John. So our next book is called Blip. It's the first issue. It's publisher's Bardic Press. It was released in February of 1998. It's got $1.25 cover price. It's basically an anthology book. It's got tons of artists and writers in this, including Dave Sim and Michael Cohen, Craig Tayleffer, Jenny Gregory, Steve Conley, M. Oak, that's Mark Oakley, Bill Knapp, Jimmy Gonley, Terry Sue Wood, also known as Risa Challender, Joe Zabel, Michael Cohen with Mark Sherman, Tara Jenkins, who's now known as Tara Talon, I believe, Carlos B. McNeil, David Yurkovich, and a bunch of others. It's kind of like this anthology book, but it's also a catalog of sorts. And it showcases little snippets of stories from a slew of the best independent comics of the late 1990s. And each figure's books have a page telling you their diamond back order codes so that you could tell a retailer easily how to order the books for you. I thought it was a very smart marketing magazine, and that it wouldn't hurt to do something like this in today's market, in my opinion. I gave it 4 stars, and I recommended it for ages 13 and up. Here's the book. It's all black and whites, but first page that you can see, that is Dave Sim with Mark Cohen. And it's an interesting illustrative work. And then it introduces the series Wahoo Morris by Craig Tayleffer, tells you which books the characters appear in, and what the prices are, and what the orders were for the back orders. And you also order some ElfQuest because Craig worked on ElfQuest, and it has all those order numbers that you could order from Diamond to get the back issues. And then it gives you an original story called Band Practice. It's a little 4-page snippet, and it's not bad. And then it goes into Jimmy Gregory's Dreamwalker. Again, it appeared, on its own in the mythography, the codes, and it gives you a little short story. Astounding Space Strolls by Steve Conley, and so on and so forth. Probably about 15 different items in here, 15 or 16 different books. I thought that was a really cool thing for them to do. Also, a few interviews with some of the creators in there as well. So I wish that they would do something like that today with today's independence. That way it would be a good way to get a lot of these crowdfunded books together under one book, like as a catalog that we could ship out to retailers, and maybe have retailers be interested in getting the books either directly from us or through Diamond, one way or the other. So I thought that was a worthwhile book to share with you all. Our next book is the Dark Wolf Annual #1, $2.25 cover price. The publisher was Eternity Comics. The writer is R.A. Jones. The artist was Butch Burcham for the interiors, and Tim Vigil and Scott Beiser for the cover. The genre is supernatural, dark fantasy hero, and it was released in December of 1988. This is one of the books I got out of the bargain bins at Heroes and Dragons a few weeks back when John and I went and visited. And what it's about is Father Michael, who is a priest whose body houses the demonic Dark Wolf, teams up with Diana, Di, Trigard, who is the romance novelist and supernatural investigator character created by author Mercedes Lackey. So if you are familiar with Mercedes Lackey's work, you might recognize that name. Anyway, they team up to stop the serial killings of a Sheen-Demon. It's a pretty decent enough story. I expected more gore and violence from this property based on its reputation, and perhaps because it's Lackey's character involved in the story, it was a more tame story by the regular standards for representation. Bertram art is decent enough for the time for this type of black and white outlaw sort of comic. I recommend it for ages 16 and up and give it a rating of 3 stars. And here's some of the artwork. Books are all black and white. Some of his anatomy is a little bit off. I think that leg there is a little bit weird walking. I don't know what kind of walk. It's a little bit weird body position there, but okay, Other things, though, are pretty decent. And I cut the other stuff there, but the only reason I included this part was it says, "Don't ever mess with a real woman," in his own voice, because he said, "Don't ever mess with a real man," with the guy in the arm wrestling. That's why I left it there for a while for you to look at. Less than 24 hours later, she's there to meet with the guy. Father Tremaine. So hopefully, there you go. Not a whole lot of stuff going on there, but let's go on to our next book. Morbius the Living Vampire, #1, $2.99. Publisher Marvel Comics. Writer Joe Keating. The artist is Richard Elson. The colors are by Antonio Fabela, with a cover by Gabriel Del Otto. The genre is horror/superhero, and released by Marvel Now, which was March 2013. It's about I Was a Living Vampire. This is the actual first page of the book. That line is a full black page with nothing else on it. That's the first page of the book. Okay, way to bury the lead and tell us that something's going to happen to this character where they aren't going to be what they're supposed to be anymore. But okay, whatever. Morbius is chased by hunters without any rhyme or reason or explanation in this issue and is shot, supposedly dead. Just how bad is this issue? Well, like I showed you, that line is a text line on a full black page with nothing else on it. Let's show you what the next page is. It's him fleeing from said hunters who have shot him in the right shoulder and pectoral region. Blood should be everywhere. He's got his left hand pressed hard against the wound as he's running full bore at the reader, but there's no blood all over his hand. There's no blood save for a small amount of it on his shirt around the wound. A hole in his shirt that is honestly about 3 or 4 inches too wide for the injury. Somebody needs to watch some gun shows and see how bullets actually penetrate objects. Again, no blood, no anything. Chalked up in the dialogue as healing factor. Sorry, but unless the blood soaks up all the blood you're leaking out from the outside on your clothes and down your arm and on your hand back into the skin, it should be shown. Bad artwork that fails to tell the story accurately. Then there's Keating's script to contend with. Because Morbius is vampirish, what does that even mean? He doesn't need sleep. Makes a big to-do about this in the first 2 or 3 pages of the story. Excuse me? Isn't Marvel's Blade vampirish and he sleeps? Marvel's version of Dracula sleeps. What the bloody hell is this crap? Furthermore, did anybody ever read about the effects of sleep deprivation? Because everything that this character is doing runs parallel to someone suffering from those effects. Is this what people today call SJW problems? No, this is just bad writing, bad art, and poor logic that doesn't make any damn sense. I was drawn completely out of the book by page 6 and did not finish the book because this book was tripe. It got a 1/2 star for the cover, which is a nice cover by Del Otto. That's it. Do not recommend the book. But let's look at the art. Hear what I'm talking about. Here's his hand covering the wound. You can see there's blood stains all over it. Where's the blood on his hand? Nowhere to be seen. Where's the blood running down his arm? Nowhere to be seen. Yeah, I'm sorry. It doesn't. He's getting shot with a shotgun. Hello. That's not how these wounds work. Okay, so he's healing now. Advantages of being vampirish. Okay, whatever. He uses the word transvection. In other words, gliding a bit. Okay, so you used a word that, it's like, oh wow, you used a spelling bee word or something. Now use the word in a sentence and describe what it means. For the rest of the stuff, it makes no sense in the context. Whoops, go back here. I don't sleep anymore. I don't mean I'm an insomniac. I don't mean I'm restless until 2 a.m. clicking through channel after channel because I'm stressed about my bills. I mean, I'm always awake. Always, always. What? Yeah. Anyway, gets in a fight with him, with the guy with the shotgun, says, knock it off. Again, where's the blood on his shirt? Where's the blood on him? There's nowhere to be found. It doesn't make any sense. You barely see a little bit of blood around this huge gaping wound in his shirt. It just doesn't work. Then he goes, crosses don't faze me. Well, of course not. You're not a vampire. All sorts of silly things in here. It just, By the time I got through that, I was done with the book. So that's out the door. But again, why did I get this book? Blank cover. You know what I'm going to do with this one? I'll tell you later. Tell you later in the show. You're going to love it. Our next book is another Marvel book, but I promise you this time I'm not going to trash it. Sectars, Warriors of Symbion #1, 75 cents. Marvel Comics published it. The writer is Bill Mantlo. The artist is Mark Texiera for pencils with Art Nichols inks. The covers by Texiera, Brett Blevins, and Joe Del Bito. Colors are by Bob Sharon. The genre is science fiction fantasy heroes, and this was released in June of '85. What it's about. This book introduces us to the world of Symbion. It's a world where two opposing forces, the Dark Domain and the Shining Realm, exist in a tumultuous truce. In other words, that means the truce is very touch and go. They probably do skirmishes and other stuff, but they're supposedly in a truce. But the Empress of the Dark Domain dispatches her troops to a village on the border of the two realms to wipe it out and start hostilities anew. Her plan is to claim that the reason for her attack was that the village was harboring heretics who worshipped the forces from days past that supposedly threatened all. So the Dominion's forces invade the village, not realizing that there are actual heretics there and that hidden is a hive of old relics. When touched, they set off a supernatural storm that lays waste to the village and attacks the Shining Realm. Enter the royal Prince Dargan and his fellow warriors of the Shining Realm. Mantlo introduces these characters and her relationships between them. Dargan's mentor reveals that he too is a heretic and explains why Dargan's father has disappeared. He went on a quest to find a hive of power like the one that the Dark Domain just found. But with the first hive of power now in the hands of the Dark Domain, the quest to find others must begin anew. Mantlo does a fine job of introducing the world and all the characters in a quick and succinct fashion. They may be very basic introductions, but you know who the characters are, what they're about, what their relations are to one another, what they could potentially evolve into as the story progresses. This is a comic that's based off a toy line by Coleco from 1985 that was a short animated series of 8 episodes. Mantlo didn't create or develop these characters. That's other people who did that, but he seems to have done a decent enough job of giving them his own voice to these characters. A good introductory issue, and I might even be interested in reading more. I recommended it for ages 10 and up, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Is that because it's a 80s comic? No, it's because Bill Mantlo actually did know how the heck to write, which is a lot more than I can say for what Jeff Lemire and Joe Keating were doing on their books, respectively. And I understand I'm not knocking those two gentlemen and saying they're crappy writers, because Jeff Lemire does some excellent work elsewhere. Joe Keating, I did a review of his book Stellar for Skybound Image a while back. I gave that pretty good ratings. It's just, it seems like when these people come to Marvel working under the Joe Quesada click group, it's like they leave their brain at the door when they walk in the door or something, something. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, let's go on to our next book. Or actually, let's look at some of that artwork from Sectars #1. This is by Mark Texiera and Art Nichols. It's not bad work. It's since it's early Mark Texiera, it's before his Ghost Rider stuff that we're used to seeing that he became well famous for. But it's interesting. The colors are a little bit garish, I think. But okay, we're on a different planet, or a different universe or whatever, so it's not overly bad or anything. And it is 1985, so the color palettes do get a little bit odd sometimes. And this is the introductions to Dargon and some of the other characters. He's fighting a dragon, a venipede rather. That's the pinkish dragon thing he's fighting. He wants to get the venom out of its mouth so he can have it for weaponry, when he could just as easily have bought it at the store, but whatever. I guess it gets the point of his bravery or tomfoolery, one or the other. Our next book is We Only Find Them When They're Dead, #1 for $4.99. The publisher is Boom Studios. The writer is Al Ewing. The artist is Simone DeMeo with color assist by Maria Sara Miati. This cover is one of the alternative covers by Tony Infante. The actual regular cover just had the title logo on it. We only find them when they're dead, on a star field, and that wasn't good enough. I went and got one of the alternate covers. The genre is science fiction, and this was released in September of 2020. And what it's about, in the year 2367, humanity is finding giant entities that they call gods. Think of Marvel's Galactus, or maybe the Celestials, or the Watchers. Only whenever we find them, we discover them when they're dead. So the humans get these salvage crews together and start dissecting the bodies of these entities and selling the parts for whatever they can get for it. Weird, you think? Yeah, it's a weird story. Anyway, the lead of the story is a captain whose crew plans to try to find alive one of these gods to whatever ends. I don't really know why. There's not enough of an explanation as to why they want to do this yet, but that's their plan. Frankly, the entire concept feels like Ewing pitched it to Marvel, who in turn shot the idea down. Like they were trying to find the rest of the Watchers, or the Celestials went missing, or they were going to dissect Galactus or something. And he just, converted that rejected pitch into something creator-owned. That's what it feels like to me. But it's got a decent enough start, so we'll see where it goes. But he really needs to take it somewhere new and interesting and not just write some ersatz examination of the Marvelverse. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars, and I recommend it for ages 15 and up. But it's a kind of a, I guess you could say it's a 4, but it could go lower very quickly, depending on where the book goes. Let's look at the art. The art's pretty nice. Has an animated, painterly feel to it. I'm not particularly fond of some of the lettering choices that they've done here. But okay. It's just kind of weird. As you can see, there's a bunch of ships. They're all autopsy ships that are going to take pieces and parts of this dead godling. And there's all the ships, and then you see this huge entity who seemingly has a feminine-looking face, or maybe it's a female god. The gods are always beautiful, and the gods are always dead. okay, you know. It has a sort of feel like you're looking at, you know, yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. And then after they do the dissecting and they leave, all right, this is your captain speaking. We're in warp for the next 2 minutes. The ship does not have ears. That means all the ships, when they're in normal space, they're all linked to one another, and the AI feeds all their thinking and speaking to some collective group that they didn't want to hear this. The authorities can't monitor onboard chatter. These are desperate times for desperate souls, new prospectors chasing the dream of the gold at the edge of the big dark, new corporate fleets ready to steal whatever gold is left to muscle us out one by one. You saw it today. There are too many ships trying to mine the same corpses. That means more squabbles over the choice cuts, more distractions, more thefts, more distraction in themselves. We know how the people who are going to be the escorts, that's the cops, are going to react. You've seen it. Now they'll position themselves to take over. We know when we can make our move. Are you ready? And they all agree to go. And then it's decided. And the decision is they're going to look for a live one. So it's not bad by any means. But it's just there. You know, it's a good lead-in. Four star, but unless it goes really into something new, I can see this going to a 3 or even a 2.5 drop with consecutive issues. I'm hoping not, though. And that is our reviews for the week. However, I promised you that I would tell you what I was going to do with these books. Since Morbius does never need sleep, I'm going to do Morbius, drawing on here, saying I was a living vampire who never ever got any sleep until I found my pillow. That's right. I'm going to draw him with my pillow, holding on to my pillow. That's what I think of this book. And for Hawkeye, I'm going to do this on 2 sides here. It's a double-sided blank cover. I'm going to do it like this. And on this side, I'm going to have Hawkeye with his bow. And on this side, I'm going to have Deadpool with an arrow in the middle of his head. And he's going to say, hey, what the heck was that for? I just came here to get Bob's dry cleaning. If you remember, one of Deadpool's friends is Bob, the Hydra agent. So he just, I'll have him with the dry cleaning and stuff. What's going on, Barton? And do you think this really hurts me? Splody arrow. We're not calling it that. That's what I'm going to put on it. If you're interested, I'll be drawing those this weekend on live because that's just how I roll. The other thing I can tell you, I did have something that actually was worth reading come in today. I finally got my Trucker books in the mail like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. So right before the show. So let's do a quick box opening, shall we? Okay, we have a Trucker Hunter's Moon bookmark, a timeline of the different stories for Trucker. Whoops, well, that's okay. We have 3 different graphic novels. The Dark Star Zephyr, Chapeltown, and Battlefields. I'm not exactly sure which order those are supposed to go in. I'll figure it out as I read them, I guess. And then we have the big book, a giant hardcover omnibus, Trucker: The Complete Journey, Volume 1. It's shrink wrapped, but this is basically everything from like 1985 until like 2011, I think, 2012, something like that. Every single trucker story that I was ever produced. So that's what I got in the mail today. I don't know when I'm going to get to these for review just yet, but I will get to them. Quite a bit of stuff here to read, though, and I've got plenty more to go for Booktober. But I wanted to let people know I did finally get that, and I'm looking forward to reading these. And so, what is on the plate for tomorrow? Well, tomorrow we're going to review Lonely Receiver number 1. The Blessed Machine, the complete collection. King of Nowhere number 5. Lab Rats number 1 by John Byrne from DC. And then we're going to go through our Marvel books. And again, these are all books that I got over the years because of my covers. Haven't read any of them. They're all new to me. X-Men 92 number 1. This is the Secret Wars edition. Marvel Now and Kenny X-Force number 1. Astonishing Ant-Man number 1. Invincible Iron Man number 1. Defenders number 1. And Thor's number 1. That's also another Secret Wars crossover book. So I will try and review all these books, get them all read, and get reviews written up and ready for tomorrow. So thanks for watching today, and I wish you all a good, safe day. And hopefully I won't have a computer problem like I did today. One of my drivers, the people who make the driver system, uploaded a different program onto my computer without my knowledge, and it kind of screwed things up for a little bit. And once I got it figured out what it was doing and why, I was able to get it configured and making it work right. So shouldn't have that problem again. So thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next time. In the meantime, though, if you have questions for me, whoops, there we go. If you want to reach me, you can reach me on Facebook at lewis.brightraven, deviantart.com/brightraven, on YouTube at Quoth the Raven Lewis Brightraven. You can email me at quoththeravenlbr72@gmail.com or at lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. The regular weekly podcast airs on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that, I'll bid you guys adieu. Have a good day.